I've been desperately trying to research and seek answers to my questions, but I cannot find any. Back in early June of 2020, I was staying at my cousin's place in Arkansas. He, at the time, had a very large Neapolitan Mastiff. Well, one morning we found his dog outside, ripped to shreds and ribbons. There was nothing but gore, blood, and guts. Now let me back up here a little bit. He's had the occasional black bear come onto his property, and his dog, being the size that it is, has chased it off with ease, to his knowledge. There are no coyotes in the area, so that would only leave a cougar, and cougars, from my understanding, will eat a meal. They would kill a dog, and you could bet that a size of dog like his would definitely do some damage to the cougar. And there'd be signs of a struggle and a fight, and a cougar wouldn't rip a Neapolitan Mastiff to shreds of ribbon and flesh. So his question and my question is, what the hell could have done this? We virtually have no idea. We searched around. We couldn't find any trace of struggle, just a heaping pile of blood and gore. An awful thing to come out to. I feel most bad for my cousin because he was very, very attached to that dog. I felt sick and nauseated coming out of that sight. He hasn't seen or heard anything out of the ordinary, so I've been trying to research and find if there are any answers. Some have pointed to the possibility of a bigfoot, a territorial one at that, but I don't know. I don't know how much I'm buying into the idea of a bigfoot, but I will say that something killed that dog. Why? Why did we not hear it happen? Surely something with great strength would have caused it to explode, and we would have heard that. We would have heard the dog fighting and whimpering. Something had a heyday, and whatever predator or animal it was didn't even bother eating it. It just killed it, shredded it up, and left. Also, there are no marks or traces of whatever did it. No tracks, nothing. We were truly visited by a silent assassin. This is my encounter with what I would call a wolfman on a moving vehicle. I'm pretty much on call 24/7 for a towing company that's used heavily by a roadside assistance outfit. You know how it works. You pay a premium, and no matter where you are, you make a phone call, and a tow truck will come, even in the middle of the night. The person driving that tow truck is usually me. Needless to say, I don't smile much. I guess I'm not a huge people person, although I do enjoy getting people out of sticky situations when it comes to cars. Something happened to me, though, that has seriously made me consider a change of careers, even though I don't have much to work with for qualifications. I did receive a phone call about servicing a call that originated out on a remote highway next to a thick, vast pine forest near the mountains. Of course, it couldn't have just been a pine forest nearby, but it had to be up in the mountains. Anyway, I arrived at the GPS coordinates at about 1:45 It was pretty dark and cold. Since this was late fall, early winter, I found the vehicle, but I did not find the person that made the call. It was difficult to see in the flashing of the lights of my tow truck. I dug out a heavy-duty flashlight and began shining it all around. Well, I found the caller. It was a woman sprawled out in the grass. I felt a tightness in my chest when I could see that she was covered in blood. I got back in my tow truck, locked the doors, and called 911 immediately. I was about to send the call through when something enormous collided with my truck. making the windshield nearly burst into a million cracks. Crouched on the hood of my truck and looking at me in the eye was a horrendous-looking canine creature. I couldn't make out much else, but the face was so vivid, and the glowing eyes, that its memory was stuck in my brain. It showed its teeth and acted extremely aggressive and hostile and snarled at me. This was some sort of wolf, literally the size of a bear, and the killing power of a monster truck running over somebody. I know that's a bizarre description, but when you're in the moment of absolute fear, this thing could have ended my life in the snap of a finger. I started my truck and began to go as fast as I could. And if you've ever seen a tow truck, you know they are not made to turn on a dime. I consider myself indescribably lucky that there were no other vehicles nearby. Had anybody been coming, there would have been a terrible accident. I made it back onto the road, but had terrible momentum, and I was fishtailing, scraping, and bumping. At one point, this thing's head swung down and smashed into my driver's side window. After one sharp turn, it nearly overturned my vehicle. I saw the body of this thing tumbling across the road on the ground. After that, I took a leave of absence for as long as I legally could without losing my job. You can imagine I was interrogated by the police. Well, maybe interrogation is the wrong word. Questioned up and down is perhaps the right terminology. I didn't dare tell my employer, though, what I saw. And I only told the police what little I could tell them without being written off as insane. The case didn't really seem to make it on the news, and was probably just written off as a wild animal attack, potentially eaten by a bear. This happened just this last fall and winter, and to be honest with you, it's been an exercise in keeping my mind straight and not having panic attacks. I've had to be put on night calls again. I mean, with COVID, I have to pay the bills, so I don't have much of a choice. I don't have very many great credentials, and finding another job that pays as well as this one would be very difficult. Again, in COVID times, it seems impossible, but it's something I know I have to do. But I fear that I'll have to go out again in the night to another call, deserted in the middle of nowhere, and face this horrible monstrosity. I was staying at a hotel in downtown Minneapolis. It was one of those single-story roach traps that everyone knows are a great idea to stay away from. But being desperate and broke, and staying on the road would have been a death sentence. So I got checked in, and nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary at first look. I remember looking out my window and looking right into the window of another nearby hotel. I thought it was kind of strange that two businesses like that would be literally back to back. But then again, it's not unusual to see two different pharmacies on the same block, one of them deliberately building close to the other in hopes to rival the business. Being too tired to even watch TV, I found myself drifting back to the window, just to stare outside and look at the sky. Now, I don't know how long it had been since I'd been staring, but I swore I saw a large and exceptionally ugly dog looking at me. My sister has a Rottie that's even won contests for its size and weight, and I'm pretty sure that this animal that I was looking at was even larger. It even sniffed the glass as if it could pick up my scent. I began looking around for a light source that must have been nearby for some reason, for this animal's eyes to give off light the way they were, similar to the eye shine that you get from any animal that walks in front of your headlights. Except I never recalled seeing eye shine in an animal that had yellow, honeyish amber eyes. It was disturbing. My puzzlement only increased when this creature began backing away from the window. I had imagined this whole time it was standing on its hind legs and leaning on the window sill with its forelegs. But as it backed away slowly, it never fell down to the ground as dogs normally would, and you'd expect them to since they walk on all fours. The only way it could have stayed visible on that level was if it was clearly walking on two legs. Well, like you or I. Now, with two walls between me and the thing, I wasn't exactly afraid, but there was this extreme unease that settled over me, and I couldn't shake it. I tried walking away from the window and watching TV, using the restroom, and even taking a shower, but I was always compelled to come back to the window where my canine voyeur would be standing there waiting. And didn't its legs ever get tired? On several glances, I swore I caught the thing walking past the window the same way that I was. Maybe I was getting the idea that it was toying with me. But what dog would be smart enough to do that far away, in such a complex housing arrangement? I considered reporting it, but I didn't even know which room the next door building was. And it wouldn't look good if I just went in and started snooping around. Safe to say, I did not sleep well that night. Days later, after I had just gotten on the road, I was looking up the news in Minneapolis, just in case somebody found a dog walking around in a hotel. There was apparently a report of a homicide. One of the cleaning personnel was found dead with wounds that looked like they had been inflicted by a supposed wild animal. In my mind, there couldn't be any mistaking it. Why they never saw the thing or caught up to it till then, I don't know. How it even got inside that other building unnoticed, I'll never know. It's disturbing just knowing that these animals can walk among us, enter our daily lives and dwelling places without ever being seen has really, really disturbed me. Anyway, this happened about 15 years ago. Thanks for listening.